Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. I met him at the Ferrari event over at Central Jersey Ferrari. Shout out to them. And I became enamored with this guy's talent. Josh Pele is a magician, and he is amazing. He's done some viral stuff online. We'll talk a little bit about that today. But first, Josh Pele, welcome to the New Theory Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. Let's start off with a trick.
Sure, let's do it. Now, as most people know, a deck of cards is 52 cards. But since we're on a podcast and we're not doing a full show, we don't need a lot. I'll do like 5. Okay. Let's do a few random cards. And maybe drop some of those. Maybe we'll drop some of those. That should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red cards. Yeah. That's good. And then I think this is 5 black cards as well. Now, let's just 2 3s now. That's going to confuse the audience. We should probably change that.
Okay.
Let's get a different one. I like to make sure that they're all different. Let's do that. Okay. And what I want to do is I'll mix these
straight there, I think. Is that a natural straight?
Oh, it's not in order, but we'll shuffle them. Yeah, whatever it is. Just random cards. The key is that they're red and black. And as you see, the cards are alternating. But the problem with doing magic is people say I'm cheating. I know that the cards are alternating. Everyone knows that they're alternating. So what I like to do is I like to do what's called a chaotic shuffle. I like to take the cards and I like to mix them up. Face up, face down, face up, face down, face up, face down, face up, face down. So even if I knew they were alternating, I have no idea which one's alternating which way. Correct. And if we flip this a million times, I would be lost. The next thing is I'll give you these cards. This is called dealer's grip, the way people in casinos hold them. And I just want you to deal them down onto the table. Don't flip any of them. But it's your choice how many. Just put them down one at a time. Yeah, exactly how they are. As many as you like. You could do all of them. You could do some of them. It's totally up to you. Great. Everything in your hand, turn it and drop it here.
Like this?
Yep, and just drop it. Now, do you want to do that again or?
No.
No. Okay. And if there were more people, they could always do that. And again, we had 5 red, 5 black, and we mixed them up red, black, red, black. And then we did the face up, face down to show that it's chaotically shuffled. And then you dealt as many as you wanted and flipped and added all that extra chaos. And if you want to, you sure you don't want to do it again?
No.
Okay, great. And you could do it again if you wanted.
And just for those watching, it really was intermittent black, white, and he did make them the chaotic shuffles that watched copiously.
And you don't want to do it again. You know, after all that, your touch, your mix got the red to the red to the red to the red to the red, from the black to the black to the black to the black to the black.
Oh. Oh my God! We have to watch that in slow motion.
That would be cool. Yeah. That wouldn't be amazing.
Yeah.
That's if I were to do it.
Okay.
But to be honest, you did that. So not only did you separate the red and the black, there's no straight. There's an ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in perfect order.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was gonna say before, and I actually said that.
You said there might be a straight.
I said you dealt a natural straight, but it wasn't in order. I saw you shuffle. I also controlled the shuffle, and it organically went. Well, okay. So a natural straight could either be, hey, I dealt the straight, but it's not in order. But a true natural straight is all in order. So that compounds that.
You spoke it into existence. You found an unnatural straight and made a natural. I think maybe you're a magician. If you ever wanted a side career, this could be a good avenue.
This is why I had you on. All right. So you have an interesting career so far. So Josh is not a rookie in any way. But let's start off with your beginnings. And first thing I asked you, I remember asking you, were you self-taught? Were you trained? Give us kind of your early background and how you got into this and how you taught to be yourself to be a amazing magician.
I think this ties very well with the theme of the podcast in terms of building a business and growing, is because my story originated in my success from business aspect more than the magic aspect, which is 2 very creative routes. There's people that are really good at entertaining that don't get money. There's people that make a lot of money entertaining that aren't entertaining in general.
Correct.
And we can kind of touch base on those key differentiators later. But I created my own trick a few years ago. I was in Milan, Italy, and I had no magic background. I wasn't a magician. I wasn't dabbling with it at all. It just complete randomness, fidgeting with a deck of cards. An idea comes to me. And I'm a curious person, right? If you have an idea, you either know if it's a good or bad idea, you think it's a good or bad idea, or you don't know. Because I don't do magic and it's a magic trick, I'm in that third category of what is this? What did I come up with, if I came up with anything? which means the only way to find out is to try it. And that's where, you have to be ballsy, right? Yeah. I'm a stranger that doesn't do magic. I have a magic trick and I'm going to try it. And I went up to strangers in the streets of Milan, to the subways, outside the churches, the public areas, restaurants, wherever. And surprisingly, people in Italy don't really speak English. Yeah. A lot of them don't.
Yeah, interesting, because in Italy, there's not as many people that speak English as you think. However, in the north, in Milan, you would think there'd be more, but there's not.
Yeah, it was shocking. And I was with a local of my friend who grew up in there, and he's like watching me try to do this. And he's like, even he was surprised at how little English speakers there were. So there was a language barrier, but it didn't affect us. I kept doing the same trick to people all over and got really good reactions. So that hooked me to come back to the U.S. Well, I was going to come back anyway, but it hooked me when I came back to want to initiate and pursue it. Again, no knowledge of the magic aspect. I only know one trick. I don't have a show. I don't have the stage presence or even the close-up presence, if you want to call it a difference. But I had the hustle. I want to go for things. I try things and figure it out later. You say yes and figure it out. You try things, because if you wait for the right time, it's never going to come. Yeah. So I was like, I'm a magician. I'm going to do this. And I'm advertising myself as a magician. I perform, and I'm trying to get bookings with only one trick and knowledge, because I'm like, between me advertising and me getting a booking, I'm sure I'll figure it out. Yeah. And I think that's been the story for a lot of cases in my career where I've grown, has always just been, I say yes to things. Like my first stage show, said yes before I even had a stage show, and put one together, and now it's still the show I use after all these years experience. Oh, wow. Now I still have not, I've taken stuff out that I used back then just to fill the time, but the majority of the stuff is not stuff I've switched, it's just stuff I've refined and tuned.
I love that answer. So just like in business or anything, you started out with one trick and you got obviously really good at it, right? And then you said, okay, let me go ahead and do some more tricks. But you're self-taught, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so being self-taught, did you go to YouTube University, I call it, or did you watch other magicians? Because the other thing is about magic, it's a craft. I don't know if it's still around, but there's like a guild. It's like a really serious profession, as you know. But the self-teach yourself, I think, is even more impressive because you didn't go through like schooling or the normal channels. How did you begin to self-teach yourself? And what resources did you use?
I think magic seems like this very secretive kind of world, but I really think it falls into learning anything, right? Like when you first start something as a beginner, everything seems foreign and seems secretive, but people that apply themselves, like people that show the commitment to want to learn something, find the resources. They find the books, they find the podcasts, if that's a thing, they find the mentors, they find that. And so for me, I start with that one trick and then you break it apart, right? The method you use for that trick, can you use that method to do another effect? And if the answer is yes, however many ideas you come up with, you now have one method that's giving you 2, 3, 4, 5 tricks. Even if you do 2, you've already doubled your output. You can compound it. Because you can compound it, right? The reactions, right? How you manage the crowd. Maybe terrible trick, but the way you were able to speak about it, the speech was good, right? Like the method has you diving into a realm of why don't you just use the method for something else? That's new tricks you can come up with. The speech, right? Maybe you like the idea that you were trying to explain, the story you were telling, but that wasn't the right trick. But now you have your story for something else. That could be a stage trick. That could be a close-up trick. So now it's segmenting in different varieties. So you break it apart because even the simplest difference changes it in magic. In other things, people will say, no, that's the same thing, right? Yeah. If you had like some, I don't know, like this coaster, if I flip it over, it's still the same coaster. Yeah. In magic, it's like if your card's on the table and I flip it over, that's a cool trick. If we do the exact same trick, but instead of me flipping it over, you flip it over, which it's almost like it's a different trick, which is the littlest difference, right? That. And so just a small change lets you open it up. And because every permutation is completely different, you branch off of that, and that's with one method, right? Now you do 2, now you do 3, so it exponentially grows very quickly.
So as a growing magician, and it seems like you were smart because you just not only said, hey, let me learn magic, but let me also monetize and work on the business end, because it is a business, right? What are kind of the channels or venues, or I think you do a restaurant residency, you mentioned stage, parties. Give me like your streams of revenue. Where can you perform, and where do you kind of do well and you're like, you know what, I'm a stage guy, I love it, or opposite, you know what, I guess, give me kind of the breakdown of the different streams of revenue and where you can perform.
Sure. I would say I do well everywhere. And I say that because what stands me apart as a magician or entertainer is that people like my personality. It's my energy on stage. So it's not necessarily the effects I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's not a stage versus close-up versus mind reading versus card tricks thing. It's just a we like Josh thing. And so I'm always myself. And I think that's the key. You see magic with some people are mysterious. If that's you, do it. If you can rock a leather jacket and you're that's fine. But like, don't try to do that because that's what was big on TV and blew up. You have to stay true to yourself. And because I do that, I find myself good in all avenues and all departments. And I wouldn't say I favorite one. I love performing. I'm a corporate entertainer. I do a lot of celebrities. I do a lot of nightclubs. So my revenues are, the charity galas, corporate events. I have Labibi Prime is my current restaurant residency. Shout out Tony. Nice. That place is awesome. Great place in North Brunswick to eat. Yeah. So restaurants are great because those are more residencies where, as a magician or any kind of entertainer, right? Bookings aren't guaranteed, tours aren't guaranteed. So when you have residencies, it's like nice to know you have a check coming in consistently from certain avenues. The corporate events are year round, December is death because of all the holiday parties and no one's going to make your employees come on a Saturday, Sunday. So you get the nice gigs on Monday, Tuesday, plus your weekend stuff. Yeah. But then throughout the year, you have the trade shows, which are big for magicians. You have team bonding.
Trade shows. Oh, because like any hire you as entertainment at a trade show.
Exactly. So a company, let's I have a water right here, LaCroix, right? And there's a lot of tricks with alcohol, but let's say they weren't necessarily a beverage product, just whatever their product is, whether it's stationary, mechanical, technology, you have the magician and I come and, you give me a polo or whatever you have your employees wear and I act like an employee at the booth. And my job is to do a little tricks. Don't, dominate the booth with magic, but do enough magic to entertain the guests.
But then people say, oh my God, you need to go to booth.
Exactly. And I draw a crowd in, people are walking by a floor and it's very hard to get noticed or keep people for a while and give the elevator speech. But so for me, what I do is I do quick routines. I make it catered. I customize maybe the speech or the trick itself to the technology or the company. And I draw people into the booth and let the salespeople and the reps kind of talk. And now I have these big crowds. It's a lot more output for that booth at the trade show because the people are staying longer and there's more people coming as a direct result of what I'm doing.
Now, from the marketing perspective, do you hook up with a convention center where they recommend you, or are you more into, I follow that I do well in the hair space, and wherever the hair is, I travel wherever, or are you more tethered to a particular convention venue?
I don't really work with convention spaces or venues. Those are more of things that they don't really need that kind of stuff. Some of them have show programming and schedules. It's more the vendors themselves, because you're a vendor, right? And you're going to a conference. There's a lot of people in your industry. You got to stand out. So I'm directly more with the companies. I've had cases where the convention themselves has reached out and done programming, but again, those are depending on the show and how short notice, right? Like they might call you last minute and be like, hey, we could fit you in, but I'm like, hey, if you're not local, I don't do it for those numbers.
Did you ever bomb? And if so, how did you recover?
Bombing is, what is bombing in magic? I always give this example is that when you watch anything else, it doesn't matter whether you have experience in dancing and singing and music, whatever. When you see someone bomb a song, singing or dancing or any of that, anyone can tell. A kid, an adult, someone who has any knowledge of rhythm or that, someone who doesn't, right? With magic, you don't know what bombing is because you don't know what's supposed to happen. Whenever someone does something, you don't know where they're going with it. And so if you in that moment and you make it obvious that you mess up, well, don't do something and just be like down on yourself and just stop.
Correct.
So, and make it clear to the audience. And so I've had like moments very infrequently where maybe I've done something not go the way I wanted, but I know how I'm the only one that knows what's supposed to happen. I'm the only one that knows that's not what normally happens. And so I play it off very well. But at the other time, I have a very fun style of drawing people in. Like I like to seem like I mess up on purpose. Yeah. Because it's more fun. Like one, you do the trick and they react.
I saw that at Ferrari. You did like kind of like a thing. And by doing that, it gives it more authenticity. And you buy in, you're like, oh, that guy screwed up, or like, oh, his hand to eye is not as good. But then you realize that's part of the
Yeah, it's a good way to draw people in because you're gonna have the people that are fans no matter what you do, and you're gonna have those people that are kind of skeptic. They want to try to figure it out, and that's not a bad thing. The curiosity is a good thing, and a lot of times, you have people like, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to, like, no, you shouldn't apologize for wanting to try to figure out a magician. You should apologize if you're only being like rude to them. And there's a very big distinction, again, because you don't know what that distinction is. Everyone feels that they're in that I'm stepping over the line. Like, no, I like the curiosity. I want you to, because I know how to deal with these people. There's people that it doesn't matter what I do, they're going to love it, which, I mean, I love that for them, but also that's not the same as someone that's curious, because you want to lean into their personality as well. You don't want to you're doing a trick in front of a group, but at the same time, you have to cater to several personalities, which is what I kind of identify it quickly, is noticing that sometimes people can get into that habit of, with magic, it's such a powerful thing. You do an effect and it's like, oh, look at me, look what I could do. I'm very like, this guy's going to like it anyway, so he's just going to enjoy the show. This girl is curious, so let me try to lead her into the fact by messing up. And that guy's going to call me out, and he's going to be the one I pick for the second phase, where I address how I wanted him to do it. So I play into it. I'm always a few steps ahead because I know where I'm going to take it.
All right. I don't know if you're comfortable with this, but I want to ask you if you want to do this. Can we show everybody a super basic magic trick that they can do at home with cards or anything that, that is good enough where if we show them now, they watch us, they do it to their wife or spouse or partner, and they're part of like, holy cow. But something that basic, easy, and then you're comfortable showing what the spoiler is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as kids, they probably just learn the simplest thing, and it's probably the easiest thing, is that I make this really quick because people.
We want to maybe do the trick and then show us the secret.
No, I think this is just a very simple secret. That's not something that would be like, oh my God, the magician's giving away. But I think it's something that we want to make it concise and short, where like attention spans aren't the best these days.
That is true.
So if I can make it in 10 seconds, you'll watch it and you'll also know what's going on. But I'd say the easiest way to do a trick, because at the end of the day, just finding the card is magic. So you just tell someone to take a card, and when they do that, it's good to just look at the bottom card. Remember the 10 of diamonds, whatever their card is, you just put this on the bottom, and they're going to be like, oh, my card's on the bottom. And take some cards from the top, move them to the bottom, and then, you just know it's next to the 10 of diamonds. And you could even tell them to shuffle. It's very unlikely that the cards will split. Very rarely this happens. So they shuffle, and then you just look through the deck and just find wherever the 10 of diamonds is. So here it is. So was your card the 10 of hearts?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there it is. It's very simple. It doesn't give secret, but it is just quick, because, a trick is just pick a card, find a card. And that seems like you see magicians do all these things, you watch me do with mind reading and those things, and they seem so amazing. Like, oh, that's cool. But I'm like, no, like, trust me, you have someone pick a card, they shuffle it, and you find it, they will react very well.
Now, what about, so when we were there at the Ferrari event, you did some mentalist tricks, which is a totally different, although I guess it falls probably under magic.
Yeah, mentalism is a type of magic.
It's a different discipline, and you were very good at that. How did you get into becoming a mentalist? And again, YouTube, or how did that work? Yeah,
I've always been interested in mentalism, and at first I always wondered, how do I transition more to it from magic? And I remember this one magician once told me, he's like, it's just the same thing. It's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's same stuff. And I didn't understand what he meant at the time. And now that I do, I'm like, no, it's really not that different, because it's just, it's an aspect of magic. So when you have a magic background or any skills in your tool set from magic, you could transition to certain.
Can we do the one from the Ferrari with the Google and all that? Or that's probably not the right for here. Or can we do a basic mentalist trick? Because you blew my mind on the mentalist trick.
A basic mentalist trick. Yes. So this is what we can do. I'm going to.
And we're obviously not going to ask for the secret on this one.
Yeah. So how about you give me? We're just going to get like a random spot here. So give me a number, like 1, 2, like 8, 10. Number 8. Okay. So let's get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. And let's see what we have in this hand. Okay. 7 blacks and a red. So I guess I'll just use that one red one. And let's do like another small number. Let's do
5.
5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's use those 5 cards. And we'll use, I guess we could use this one. It doesn't really matter. But this is just going to be like a number. Basically, we're making a 2-digit number. So if we had like a a 7 and a 0, that would be 70,
Yeah.
or 0-7 if you wanted. If we had like a 6 and an 8, 86 or 68,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do. But these are going to be the two cards we use for our numbers. So I guess like I'll turn it this way because we read left to right. So we'll go like 6-7, not 7-6.
So if it's 6-7 here, it'd be 66.
Yeah, unless you want to do it the other way. Where you
No, this is good.
Okay, so then we'll flip. Well, it's a 2-digit number, but if these are both 8s, it doesn't matter. But if this is like 17, it could be 17 or 71.
All right, so
that's why like my orientation is kind of different than yours, but you're gonna read it. So that's gonna be a number, and this is gonna be up to you. I want you to start the timer.
Okay.
And you could stop it whenever you like. And what we're going to do is we're going to add them. So you've stopped it there about 4 seconds. Do you want to keep going or do you want to stop right there? Keep going. Great. So you can do it. You stopped about 5 seconds. So less than 2 seconds added. Do you want to keep going or is that what we're locking? Okay, so this is, I'm not going to change the time. This is 5.82 if the camera can see. It doesn't necessarily need the zoom, but 5.82. So we're going to add that. 5 plus 8 is... 13, yes, and plus 2 is 15. Yeah. And you could have kept going, you could have changed it. And we have these two cards, which is an ace. Oh, ace is like a 1. And this hopefully is it is a 5. So we have 15. There it is. A perfect match.
Wow. That's a good one. That
is great.
But what's crazy about that is even if the math is you could skew the math however you want, you still had to get to the 1-5. Right. And I had to guess how many there were for each. And the car. Wow. Oh, that's awesome, man. So this is one of my favorite pods. All right. So you have the talent, you have the skill, self-taught, which I love self-taught. But sometimes I'll give you an example. I work a lot in the digital marketing and media space, and I'll have our educated designers and programmers, and I'll have our self-taught. And I always have a thing for the underdog, and always think for the self-taught, right? But sometimes when they work with the self-taught and they go deep for some of those nuances or basics, I have a hard time connecting because they're saying, you know what, although I'm self-taught, I didn't learn that. For that thing, we need to outsource, right? Is there any nuances maybe that you're working on because you're self-taught that you're working on because you didn't get traditional training? Or in magic, you can make up for being self-taught versus traditionally taught or mentored?
Yeah, I was going to say there's not really the right path to magic. And I was having this discussion with my good friend Joe literally at dinner yesterday is that, some magicians will tell you what they did or what they think is the right way to grow a career, grow a 6-figure business. Maybe they'll... some people might tell you, hey, you gotta go to 3 restaurants, get 3 restaurant gigs a week, get your name out there and do that. And then other people like, screw that. Like, I don't want to. There's so many ways in which you can make money as a magician. There's even 3 careers that people might not even realize. One is you could be a magician, which everyone knows, you perform. You could be a consultant. Like, when you see people on TV, they need tricks for TV. So they have a team of magicians that help them create, script, and prepare. Well, you never see those people behind the screens. And if you're not a magician, you wouldn't even know about their services because you're not their clientele. So you wouldn't even imagine that. And then there's even inventors. You could just be, maybe you don't enjoy performing. Maybe you're more of just, you love the magic. You love creating effects. Yeah. You could be an inventor of magic. You just create magic tricks and sell it to magicians. And there's people that make a living just selling magic tricks to other magicians. So the possibilities are endless. There's people that are local, they don't leave their area. They don't travel throughout the year and they make 6 figures doing all the local stuff. Yeah. And, we're fortunate to be in an area where there's a lot going on like New York City, but you could be in like a rural area making 6 figures doing kids shows. There's no path to it. You pick what you want to do and then you figure out how to do it. And whether that's more shows, more money, you could work that out as you go.
So with the business aspect, in the beginning, were you hey, I get my name out there, doing stuff for free, for exposure, or were you more discounting for exposure? Were you upfront and be like, listen, I know I'm new and you don't know me, but here's my rate. It is what it is. Like, give me kind of how you started and then how are you kind of operating now? And how do you set your pricing?
Yeah, the negotiations at first, you probably should, do that. You don't need to say I'm new or anything. You just need to go in and crush it. Yeah. And once you crush it, then they'll pay you the next time if you're doing pro bono, right? But it never hurts to, if you know it's a good event, right? If there's a lot of people, why wouldn't you? Because let's say every business had a 1% conversion.
Yeah.
How long does it take a business to get to 100 customers? Whether that's cold calls, that takes a while, which is why 1% doesn't sound sexy.
Correct.
For a magician, if someone told me every 100 people I perform for, one will book me, will book a paying. I would love this. I could do that means I can get 3 gigs a day if I want. I could easily perform for a couple hundred people, because if I do one trick in front of 15 people, a trick takes 1 minute, right? So that means in 10 minutes, I just got a booking because if I just do a few groups, that's an insane return. So what you do is if you know it's a good room to be in, and if you're also not really a worker, right? If you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you have the time, go do it for free. Go network, go do business cards, just make sure that what you do is good. And if you are good, there's a difference between being good and thinking you're good. And being good doesn't literally mean being good. It means what does the client think, not what you think. So you might think you're the best and you suck. You might be really good and you still suck. You go to that room. If those 60 people really like you, they will call you, they will book you, and you'll get those shows. As far as pricing goes, there's no really set rate. Sometimes people will tell me, "Oh, I can't afford." It's all a negotiation, right? Because there's always different people with different budgets, right? Maybe you want to charge X and someone
more than Johnny's birthday.
But even still, right? Like two people, right? You and your brother have the same life, same thing. You haven't discussed between each other. You have the same party going on, and I quote you a number, and you go yes, and then I go quote your brother the same number. He goes yes. You might have been going up a little bit, but you're like, I'm worth it. Your brother might have been ready to pay triple, which is all the negotiation thing, right? You never go first. You should talk about it, right? You never, with any business, you never want to give a price for something, because when you give a price for something,
it catches the value too quickly.
But not only that, it gives them a choice, and not the choice you want them to make. When you give someone a price, the choice is, do I want it or not? And let's say that's a 50-50 split. That's 50% of the time you get sales, 50% no. That's not bad, but that's 50% going out there. But if you give them options, right? You say, these are the packages. Like, what's your budget? This, okay, we could do this, which is a little less. We could do this, which is a little more. We could do this, whatever you want to do it, however many options you want to give them. Now you're asking them a different question to answer for themselves, because the question for them isn't whether they want your service or your product. The question is, which one do they want? Great point. Now let's say it's still evenly distributed. Now it's 100% of the time you're getting something.
Correct.
1/3 of the time you're getting a little less.
Something on the spectrum.
1/3 you're getting a little less than what you want, but you're getting paid, as opposed to that other example where you're not getting paid, and the other time you get what you want or more.
Where mentalist training may come in as a consultant is sales training. Because what I did was, when I did a lot of sales training and I learned sales, I wanted to learn some mentalist tricks. I want to be able to read body language to get better at closing, right? And for the most part, it somewhat worked. So there's a lot of entertainers watching this. I work in the media space, so I get people that email me all the time. Hey, I'm a singer, I'm a rapper, I'm this, I'm that, and they ask for business advice or marketing advice from me. What was one of the hardest lessons you learned as an entertainer going full time? Obviously, you had the talent, the products there. I think we're aligned on that. You showed that 2-3 times already. What are some of the ancillary stuff? Marketing, website, should you do ads? Give us kind of the part that wasn't easy for you, and how did you overcome to become successful despite some of those challenges of other stuff of being an entertainer that you didn't anticipate?
I think that you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be better. And you're always going to tell yourself the website could always be better. The market material goes, and that's true. And you should do it. But again, having a website is going to get you good shows. Going from a bad website to a good site might get your business. But going from a good website to a great business in entertainment is not going to change that much. Once you already have something that's looks professional, it's not going to be a game changer. Same thing with all the other marketing material. Like, I do TV appearances. I don't need to do so many. Having one TV appearance is a lot better than never being on TV. Having 3 is a lot better than 1. After 3, it's not difference. You're not going to be getting a lot more work because you've done 10 as opposed to 3. Several is already good. So people can focus on that.
Law of diminishing
returns. Yeah, exactly. What I would say, from what I do is, I'm so easy for me to be. I can be anywhere and show what I do. A rapper, a singer, you can't necessarily show your art, your talent there. The key is that if you're struggling, the hardest thing is knowing that you have to just put yourself out there. You have to go to more events. Let's say, make a fake number for yourself that's low. Tell yourself 1 out of every 100 people are going to book me. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. But now you have to get another 100 people. You do a nice gig, whether it's for free, whether it's volunteer, whether it's charity, whether it's paid, you do it. And now you're like, when's my next one? You tell yourself, I need to go meet 100 new people.
Yeah.
Or those 100 old people, you keep a network of them. You remember them. You see them at events because those will grow on you. But then also go for 100 more. You have to just, if you really want it, you have to go for it. And the only way to go for it, you have to keep being outside. There's nothing to be gained from staying at home.
Good point.
And that doesn't say overwork yourself, but find an event. How many events are there, especially in this area in New York? There's something every day, 24/7 practically.
Yeah.
You can go to a diner and the guy at the table next to you might be in the music industry and need someone because he had a cancellation for it, right? If you're an artist or a painter, right? How many charities raise money? Maybe put your artwork for them. Do a revenue split, right? Do a piece for free, and if it's a good charity, maybe you say, hey, I'll donate 90% of it. But if it's a good charity, that 10% might just be what you're making, if not more, if you're in that beginner stages, right? As you're more professional, you know your rates, you know how to do this. It's not necessarily advice that's going to tell you how to negotiate, but you have to put yourself in those positions where you've negotiated before, where you've tried risks with money, where you've tried risks with people, where you've tried to sell products that maybe you didn't offer, right? What's wrong with offering something with a timeline that you could figure out and seeing what the market was like? Do your own research, just talk. Try it out. It's not the easiest thing to go in front of people, and that's a whole nother skill. But when it comes to, like you said, sales, I do that a lot. I get called by, I've trained detectives and like walking through like the psychology of mentalism, going through the cognitive psychology principles, sales courses. Like I also, when you said revenue streams, one of the things I do is guest lectures, speakers. I've gone to colleges and spoken to cognitive psychology classes, or I found some colleges that have magic classes, which is similar. I'm going to try to reach out to those professors this year. But, like the TED Talk kind of thing. I haven't done a TED Talk, but I've done like TED Talk style things for companies, for training classes, for that. Maybe I will do a TED Talk this year. That's something that I might plan for a project. But those things are just, you have to go, you have to do it. And if you're stuck and you don't know how to grow, then go meet more people. That's it, because the network will teach it for you. You'll find someone that will give you the answer, or you'll find the answer in looking for it.
What about you also have done some pretty cool celebrity stuff on your social. We'll put your socials below. Who are some of the celebrities that you did some tricks for?
Yeah, I've done a lot, and when people, it used to be like I would name some. Now I've done so many different categories.
Who's your favorite that you're like pretty cool?
Yeah, I got asked that before, and I always say I don't have a favorite, but like cool ones I mentioned in a past podcast was like T-Pain and J Balvin. So I want to add other people. Huge. Some people I didn't say that time. Mike Tyson and 50 Cent were really nice people.
Oh wow,
they were very fun. I'm kind of on like this heavyweight boxer streak, because I did Mike Tyson, which everyone knows, and a week later I did Buster Douglas, who not a lot of people know, but that's the one who beat Mike Tyson. And then recently I became friends with Ronaldo Snipes, who is also a former heavyweight boxing champion of the world. And I think that he had a very cool quote for me, because he told me, the guy that introduced me was someone that comes to like the cigar lounge regularly. And he brought me for the first time. Ronaldo goes and looks at me. He goes, I know 7 U.S. presidents personally. You're the coolest person I've ever met. I was like, I need to go back and get that on video. That is like the coolest thing.
Which cigar lounge you go to?
This one was, I think it's called Monte Cristo. It's in
the Whippany or the
in New York. It's like on.
Macanudo.
Macanudo.
I was just
no, not Macanudo. Monte Cristo.
Oh, Monte Cristo is Monte Cigar Inn on the east side. In the
yes.
That's a great place.
That one.
You go there?
Macanudo. Well, I went twice now, and I want to go there more. I don't smoke cigars, but I like the people. And my friend goes there a lot.
Culture is awesome.
But yeah, I think that's another avenue that I might start doing more, cigar lounge. Someone told me that a few years ago. I'd never been, but I like it. The people are great.
Some connections for you there. I spend way too much time in cigar lounges. I'm actually going to one tonight. Cigar Inn it used to be called Cigar Inn. Now it's called Monte Cristo. It's on the east side in the 50s. I just recently went to Macanudo Club in the city. I was there last week. Unfortunately, it wasn't as nice as it used to be. But Cigar Inn is Monte Cristo. It's a new place. I'm old.
Used to be Cigar Inn.
Is a fantastic place. So you went to the right place. You literally went to the right place. It's still good to get cigars in the city. And in Jersey, there's actually a place called Tonino's down the street.
Oh, okay.
He's a good guy. That's a great place. And yeah, the skull culture might be like a good place for you too, because a lot of people there own businesses or involved with corporate. So that's pretty cool. All right. So what's next for you?
Next for me, it's new year. So you're trying to do those new goals, just being more organized. I think definitely I'm very big on scaling. I like what I do. I like where I'm at with a lot of the aspects. And I want to just, my word for the year is just more. I do TV. I want to do more TV this year. I do podcasts. I want to do more. And this is, early starts of the year. When I do a podcast in January, it makes me excited for the year because I'm like, it's off and running.
Well, there's a belief how the year started is how it ends.
Exactly. So hopefully it continues in between that as well. More podcasts this year, more TV appearances. I have a few podcasts lined up, and hopefully I find more. I have a few TV appearances.
We're still going to do stuff with New Jersey Digest. That's a whole nother thing we're going to do. We're going to get some great exposure there because you earned it and deserved it.
Thank you.
And it's cool that we met, but like kind of happenstance. What's some advice that you can give to anybody starting out a new business, regardless of whatever business they're in, but they're working maybe full-time, doing it part-time, or maybe quit their full-time to do it full-time, but somebody is starting out a new business, their own business. What's some of your advice?
I say there's nothing wrong with having a side business. And I think a lot of people, it's great to be passionate. It's great to work hard, and it will take off if you believe in it, right? But give yourself a cushion and comfort and just don't rush that thing, right? There's no reason you can't work full time and then save more money for the cushion or for the business and grow the business. Don't necessarily jump into that business unless you get to the point where your side business is really taking up so much time that it's almost impossible for you to manage. Yeah. I would say don't rush it because I was able to do celebrities and travel and do that using the limited PTO that I had at jobs, using that, finding ways to make that happen, and it's something I would say that I think a lot of people are starting to rush into too easy. You see a lot of other people do it, and that's great if someone can do it and take off, but don't mirror yourself to someone else and think that that's your timeline. And even if you could have quit earlier, there's nothing wrong with quitting a little later, assuming all else is good, and having more money for that business. I
just noticed there's just difference generationally. It was like, the Gen Xers, it was, the corporations kind of ran everything. It was like, you had your PTO and you saluted and you kind of maybe had a side hustle. And then there was a little bit, but probably about 6-7 years ago, it was like the hustle muscle. You got like rewarded for hustling and like that's what you did. And you had your business and your side business. And then last few years, it was like the Gen Zers, and they're like, no, it's about me. It's, oh, you want me to go back to work in the office? Screw you. I'm going to quit. Kind of do their own thing. And it might have been some overexposure from other generations, so they didn't want to take advantage of. But the pendulum swung so far the other way that it's like the Gen Z is like, whatever. And then now it's like, hey, I want to start my own business. And I always give this formula every time. I think if you have a job and have a side business, once a side business makes up for 60% of your revenue, that's when you can do it. Now people just do it just to kind of do it. Like they have zero revenue. They just quit their job and like, I'm just going to start my own company. And like, I get you're young and maybe you have some financial support from your family or that kind of stuff, but the economics don't work. So you're right in a sense where if you're going to start your own business, it's okay for it to be side business. Why not? Right?
You're still doing it. It doesn't change. No one's going to be like, oh, I'm not going to work with you because this, like, maybe if you're looking for a big investor, they're going to be like, if you can't invest in this business full time, I won't, like that Shark Tank level kind of stuff. But in terms of pushing a product, marketing, sales stuff, right? Like if it's still a small side business, it's probably not at that level where you're looking at those venture capitalists.
Now, the other part is in your business, you mentioned scaling. How do you, because I could tell, I know you're going to scale or you are scaling. How do you plan to scale?
Well, in my business, right, like I said, there's so many people that can make 6 figures, and you can make 6 figures doing $500 shows. You can make 6 figures doing $10,000 shows. It's a big difference, So you can kind of get to a point where you say, hey, I want to do less work for more money. That's one thing. You raise your rates, and you should always, typically in entertainment, raise your rates the more success you do. And you should also just figure out what do you want to do, right? Like there's, the restaurants are not going to match my rate ever. And that's okay. Yeah. And I still love restaurants. I love Labibi a lot, because there's so much fun for me. I enjoy doing it. It's near my house. It's very rare that I actually have work near my house. I travel all the time, so much farther. Even for my local shows, I'm still traveling a good amount, over like an hour one way and back. So to have something right by my house where my parents can come, and now like you said, meeting cool people, like I can invite my friends, my family, if I meet business people, like now I have a place that I'm gonna go. Like if I want to take a client out to a nice dinner, it's one thing to take a nice place. Now I have a place where I know the hospitality is good. It's a home base. They're gonna take care of me. They're gonna take care of who I bring. They're gonna love the food. I love that. It's just and I can bring business to the person that's giving me business. Like we feed off each other. I've sent several people to Labibi, and not just because I work there, because I know it's good. I have other restaurants that I've worked in the past. I don't think the food's that great. and I like working there. I have fun. But when people are like, should I go there? I'm like,
be
I'm like, if you're drunk, come get some food. Or like, if you don't really care. But I'm like, if you're going on a date, don't go there unless they really like that kind of food.
Yeah. Interesting. So we're going to wrap this up. This was fun. I had high expectations. You exceeded it because I'm just a big fan of yours. Josh, how can people find you?
Yeah, I'm Josh Pele Magic. I'll make a little...
There you go.
I'm Josh Pele Magic, Josh Pele Magic at joshpelemagic.com, Josh Pele Magic on Instagram and YouTube, or just Google Josh Pele Magic and you'll be able to see a lot of my work.
Awesome. And like I said, we're going to do something together for Digest, which will get you the exposure that you deserve. And on this one, check out his stuff. I'll put a link below to all of his socials and his website. If you have a party coming up in the local area, sign him up. If I believe you travel as well, especially the corporate folks that watch us. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.